designed to encourage, empower, and educate real estate professionals by sharing best practices from business leaders that are proven winners. I'm your host, Kyle Malnati, and this is Calibrate Real Estate. Broadcasting from the Mile High City. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Malnati, and this is episode 20 of our podcast. We appreciate everyone that's tuning in, whether you consume the content by iTunes or on YouTube. We just appreciate you, and we want to say thank you. We also really appreciate a great review. We've got several 5-star reviews of our podcast. That's how we get more reach into the marketplace. That's how we get downloaded more often, is by getting more reviews and getting higher relevancy. And I'd love to share a review of the Sarah Lyons podcast. Sarah Lyons is a realtor in Texas. She was featured in a solo interview that I did with her on episode 17, but then she was also featured on the Working Moms panel. That was our last episode, episode 19. And Jim Fight from Dallas, Texas, has this to say about Sarah. Sarah is the best of the best. I am so very proud of her, both personally and professionally. Anyone can learn from her story. Her commitment to her family, clients, and our company makes me, once again, proud of her. Well done, Sarah. And he also has something nice to say to me. Kyle, thank you for helping Sarah pay it forward. Well, Jim, thank you for reviewing us on iTunes. If you love this episode, we'd encourage you to share it with a friend. You can text or email a link to a friend. And then also, if you love it, we'd really appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. Well, now here we get into episode number 20. This is a continuation of the real estate conference that we hosted, that Calibrate Real Estate hosted in Denver, Colorado. We had over 100 people attending this presentation from all across the country. You're going to hear Amy Campbell introduce our featured speaker named James Nellis. Now, James is a dynamic, fun guy. He is a big personality, and boy, he is someone that I wouldn't want having go after me. He loves to challenge his audience. He really likes to get the best out of anybody, and he loves winning. You'll hear that in his presentation. It's full of energy, lots of fun. James Nellis is going to be talking to us about branding beyond borders. This is a paid presentation that James does. If you have interest in hiring James Nellis, please drop a review with your contact information, or you can send an email to info@calibratere.com. Again, that's info@calibratere.com, and ask to get into contact to hire James as a professional speaker. And we would just say that this particular episode is going to be all about marketing, all about branding yourself. There are over 2 million real estate agents in the United States and Canada. The National Association of Realtors has over 1 million members of their trade organization. So I know it becomes very difficult to differentiate yourself. A lot of realtors can become kind of a parody or a commodity where people think that we're all the same, but we're not. And I think that the best you can do for yourself and your business is to brand yourself very differently. So James is going to cover lots of different topics about marketing. I know you're going to love this presentation. I enjoyed it. I was feverishly taking notes as James was presenting to our audience in Denver, Colorado. So let's have James Nellis take it away with our MC, Amy Campbell, providing the introduction. Thanks, everybody.
Without further ado, our kickoff keynote speaker, Mr. James Nellis. Many of you, many of you probably already know.
That kind of welcoming is kind of impressive. It's all right. You don't need to talk about me.
No, we'll give him a louder clap in a minute. So, and yes, I do need to talk about you. I'm going to talk about you. So many of you probably already know him from his involvement in our events in the years past, or maybe from all the selfies he took last night. I think he got a selfie with everyone in this room. But James was a under 30 in 2005. He was our MC at our event last year, so thank you for passing the baton, James. He grew up in a real estate family in Northern Virginia and now is the CEO of the Nellis Group with Keller Williams in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia areas. He has a team of 13 people, And in 2017, they closed 128 sides for $62.5 million. He's a national speaker on technology and real estate topics, and today he's going to talk about branding beyond borders. So he's very high energy, so buckle your seatbelts and give a very loud welcome to James Nellis.
That's better. How we feeling? All right, so I do want to give a hand to the people that put on Denver, especially, I'll tell you what, I don't know why he keeps returning my phone calls or texts, but Kyle, and then he was like the valet yesterday, always offering, and then the happy hour last night. So let's give Kyle a hand and the whole team. If you didn't know what we're talking about branding beyond borders. Has anyone heard this presentation before? Good, because I created this last year. So here's what I want you to focus on. Most people have entered this room thinking, I have my own brand, I have my own mission, I have my own vision, I have my core values. I've got it licked, right? I'm doing it right. I'm going to challenge that presumption. And to quote one of my favorite real estate mentors of all time, Howard Britton used to always say, get out of judgment, get into curiosity. Okay? So that's where I want you. I want you just thinking through. By the way, there's a free download, nellisgroup.com/brand, so you don't have to feel like you got to write down everything, and you can just really ease into, this is what I want to learn, this is how I want to do it, this is how I'm going to implement it, right? So let's just jump right in. As you're thinking through it, how many of you own a separate business outside of real estate? Good. Okay, at least a quarter of you. Some have like half hands, like maybe it's a business, I don't know. I'm still in the red. Got it, I've been there. I closed down a business last year. It's fantastic. Yeah. If we talked about the top 5 brands in the world, this is a recent survey that came out. It's no surprise that these are your top 5, right? Google, Apple, Microsoft. Well, Facebook might take a hit from what happened recently, but still top 5. Okay? I want to first talk about the common brand mistakes. This is not, I'm going to point and say, hey, look at your site and here's everything you're doing wrong. I'm going to say this is what so many companies, even Fortune 500 companies, do wrong. So I want you thinking through, am I making that same mistake? What does that look like in my business, right? Okay, ego branding. McDonald's back in the day was all about ego, believe it or not, right? 1, they're the biggest real estate owner anyway. But 2, it was about how many they did what? How many did they serve? How many burgers did they sell? We're going to look and see how that's gone away with their branding. Okay, please, please, do not give me your business card today if on it, it has anything like this. Oh, I'm a top member. I do this. I do that. I've been 25 years. I'm a multi-million-dollar. Consumers don't care. Agreed with that? They don't even know what it is, right? Number 3 mistake, attracting everyone to your brand. Now, this is tough, right? Especially when we were getting going. We wanted everybody. You have a heartbeat and money? Come on. I'll sell you. Where is it? I don't know where that city is, but I'll sell you, right? Come on, we've all done that. Volvo, they were known for what? Originally, safety. Then they started getting what? Cocky, right? Then they started doing all kinds of different branding, this, and this, and they got away from what made them so popular. Not creating an interactive platform. I thought it was interesting. If I asked you for the top gym facilities that are countrywide, what would you say? Just shout it out. Gold's Gym, LA Fitness, 24-hour, Planet Fitness, CrossFit. It took a long time to get to CrossFit. I thought, here's this interesting thing. LA Fitness, which you already mentioned, is a pretty big name. Would you agree? Horrible interaction online. Horrible when you compare it to some others, and we'll show you that. Number 5, this is hilarious. The gap between production and marketing. For instance, take a look at what's on this sign. Don't raise your hand if you're a Planet Fitness member, by the way. But at Planet Fitness, what do? Hey, come run on a treadmill and what? Eat some pizza. Okay, those don't really. If you want to, Google pizza and treadmill later today, and it's fascinating because one guy is drinking a root beer, and eating a pizza while the other guy's doing 11 miles an hour on a 6 incline. Is that hard? That is very hard. And guess what happens? Who wins? Pizza always wins. Pizza's so good. Hey, thanks for the pizza last night. Krispy Kreme. When Krispy Kreme went to gas stations, it started to do what? Lose their flavor. It wasn't as good, and they didn't have the experience. So let's talk about what that means to have the right experience. We're going to get into brand action right now, okay? And I'm going to have how many steps? Yeah, if you're in the back, you can't see it, we'll shout it for them. How many steps? 29. Okay, which is great because I have like 10 minutes left. Okay, ready? Here we go. I like to speak fast. I'm from Washington, D.C. If you can only listen slow, wait for the afternoon. Here we go. Shark Tank. What's our first action step? It's an action step that most people have never made that can be huge in your business. If you don't do any other action step, do this one. That's why I have it first. So brand action is what? Create your own board of directors or advisory board or whatever you want. Not with other agents. It's with your top business people. The way I did it was, okay, this client has bought and sold 4 companies. Probably a pretty good one to have on that, right? This one is actually, I have a stay-at-home mom who has referred me over 15 transactions. Do you think I care what she thinks, right? Okay, who has read this book? Raise your hand if you've read this book. Oh my goodness, nobody? Okay, write this book down. This is a fascinating book when it comes to hiring, when it comes to knowing yourself better, and knowing what you want to accomplish. So it's really simple. Let's have the conversation, okay? If we were having this discussion, so I'm meeting with somebody, if we're having a discussion 3 years from today, and you were looking back over those 3 years, what has to have happened in both your personal and professional life for you to feel happy with your progress? And this is key. By the way, I know a lot of times you hear a script or you hear something, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to use my version. Don't use your version, okay? The important part is for you to feel happy with your progress. Would you agree that the amount someone makes is rarely number one for them? Rarely number one. Now, it's usually top 3. Take a look at the second question. This is fascinating when you meet with people and you say, great, what dangers need to be eliminated? What opportunities need to be captured? And what strengths need to be maximized? My encouragement is to go back to all the people that you employ, agents, staff, even to your family, ask them these questions. You'll be very surprised where it goes. It's probably going to change the way you think about your brand as well. Okay? All right, brand genesis. Have you seen this before? You become a real estate, probably when you were originally a 30 under 30, right? And welcome the new ones. It was probably you. You're the business. Then it was you and others, right? You brought some other agents on because your business got big enough. Then it was what? Then, well, no, now I need to brand myself as Denver Properties because what happens if I try to sell it? No one wants to buy jamesnellis.com, right? And then, okay, now I need to call it something worldwide because I'm going to have my real estate empire go from D.C. to Tennessee to California, and you have to have a different name for that. Here's what I want you to think through in brand action number 2. Think globally, act locally. Think globally, act locally. Well, so what does that look like? Well, is your brand big enough that no matter where you go, it's embraced by that area? At the same time, do the locals appreciate the flavor that you bring with your brand? Right? Okay. Up in the top corner, I'm going to have different books. Okay? These are books, so a lot of it's taken from these different books. There's probably over 15 books I'm going to push through as we go through these brand action items, okay? So this is from the brand gap. Here's what I want you to think about your brand. I'm going to ask you these questions really quick. 1, are you distinctive? If I look at your brand, is it different than every other real estate agent? Okay, don't raise your hand. These are kind of like personal. Don't raise your hand on these, okay? Relevance. Are you relevant? Right? Most of us aren't. We've lost that touch with the consumer. Memorable. Are you expandable? And then depth. How many products can you launch from it? I know last year was fun. Wasn't it fun when Brandon talked about having, 15 businesses? Right? Or something like 13? He's got 300 now. I don't know what he has. But here's the challenge to you. Here's my other challenge. Don't worry about going so wide. Go deep first. Right? I'm in the Keller Williams world, and there's a thing called expansion. And you've probably seen it on Facebook and got tired of saying, oh, well, I'm opening here. And these agents are showing that they're literally in 50 locations, right? Then you dig a little deeper and you find out that there's one person there. Well, what happens when that person no longer respects your brand? When that person no longer cares to be involved with you and saying, why am I giving him X amount when he's never even here? You got to build a deep bench. Expand your brand to other niche markets. Okay, number 4. Does your current brand point you where you want to go? Does your current brand point you where you want to go? It may have been great when you first started. May have been great last year. Is that still where you want to go? When you ask that Dan Sullivan question, you'll come back to what you need to maximize, where you need to be. It has to be that compass that's going to direct your company. Number 5, understand your core. Never waver from your promise. I've gotten out of business in the last 2 years with people that promised me certain things and then what? Didn't deliver. So as a result, what happens? You have to move on, right? There's a fantastic book. It's not part of this conversation. It's called Fierce Conversations. Who's read that one? A couple of you have. The quote that is eerie to me anytime I meet someone or think about people is, I should have believed you the first time you showed me who you were. Okay? Think about that and who you get in business with when it comes to that. What great brands do. You have to be very specific to what your core is. So when I have people stand up and give mission statements, all of you should have known your mission. All of your agents should know that. They should know your core values. If you don't have them, you can create them. We're going to show you what that looks like. Align your brand with local charities. I don't know why. Here's what I love about real estate. I truly believe that real estate agents are probably some of the most charitable people of any industry. Okay, would you agree with that? It's kind of a sad agreement since it's us. I really believe that real estate agents are the most charitable of any industry, right? Yes. Okay, whoa, God, this is a tough crowd. So what does that look like? Quit saying how many houses you sold. Quit saying this, this, and this. Tell them what? Tell them who you align with. If you don't know, by the way, nobody cares about XYZ Realty. They really don't. They don't care if you're profitable or not. What they do care about is, are you making a deep impact within the community through charity? Okay? So let's talk about brand mapping and what that looks like for you as we start thinking through these things. Okay? Who's seen this formula before? Okay? It would have been awkward because I created it. Okay, so here we go. CV plus M plus, it just looks like a lot of words. Here we go. Core values plus your mission plus your vision equals your brand. So what are your core values? How do they translate? I'm going to show you ours just to kind of give you an idea of what it could be. The way that I view a mission statement, by the way, is, for me personally, it should be less than 2 sentences, and any of our agents or staff could say it at any time. Our vision is not, people get this confused a lot. Vision is actually 3 to 5 years out. It's where you want to go, where you want to be. Mission is right now, today. Core values is that core ideology we just talked about that has to be there, right? So review your core values. Is there alignment? Let me show you this. This is ours. It's really simple. Our mission statement, to invest in people's lives as they invest in real estate. Right? Be the industry leader in real estate innovation, investment, and resource to all clients. Create wealth building for clients as they invest in real estate. And this is what I love the most. Impact the community through charity that influences the next generation. Our core values, they got really excited about that one. Our core values, flex, faith, leverage, excellence, the X factor. What does all this mean? You have to start here to start brand mapping who you want to be and what that's going to look like. Here's our charity alignment. Here's what's interesting. Here's what I want you to do. Write them down right now. List 3 charities in your local market. There's only 2 rules. 1, it has to be a 501c3, okay? So you can get the write-off, okay? Second, it has to be truly impacting your local neighborhoods that you serve. What's the neighborhood that you have market share in? What is the charity that's there, that's prevalent? The one you're starting, whatever. Go ahead and write those 3 down. Go ahead and write them down. Here's the thing. I know, Tony, so I can do that. Here's the thing. Before any of our clients ever sign an engagement agreement, if you don't use that term, you should, by the way. Don't use exclusive right anymore. Use engagement agreement. Before any of our clients ever sign an engagement agreement to work with us, they sign up for which charity in their local market that they want to benefit from the transaction. Let me tell you, if you're not doing that, be purposeful about it. There's another book called Give and Take, and it says there's only 2 types of givers, really poor or really rich. And the difference is the rich ones are strategic in how they give. I'm encouraging you to be strategic in how these charities can help you. I don't have time for this. nellisgroup.com/100 is the 100th home. If you only sold 50 homes, fine. Make it the 25th home sold. We give away the entire commission. Has anyone done this before? It is an unbelievable market play as well, where the charities are sending out to their donors all your information to go to your website to vote. Can you see why that is a fun strategy? By the way, when I first introduced it, I mentioned it to my team, and I was like, here's what's awesome. On our 100th home, we're going to give away the entire commission. And it was crickets. And I'm like, they must not have heard me. I don't always speak loud enough. I'm like, no. On the 100th home, we're giving away the entire commission. Still nothing. Not even from my sister. Blood, you got to pretend you're with me, right? Nothing. And then it dawned on me, oh, what was I missing? their side. I go, wait, let me clarify. So like, if it's your sale, you'll still get your full commission, but the company will pay it out. Now what happened? Woo! Well, this is the greatest idea. Everybody's on board now. So I learned, watch how you introduce new ideas. Okay, 5 answers to the brand mistakes. Let's jump through each one of those, right? It's not fair for me to say these are the issues and not tell you how to fix it. Remember when McDonald's came out with the me time? Celebrate you, have the me time, have your mocha. It's when they were going after Starbucks, right? That was their play. Turn ego branding into me time for the consumer. This goes back to really making an experience. Don't tell me how you sold a house. Tell me how that experience changed the life of that client. Right? Okay, how about this one? I love this. This image is considered one of the more brilliant marketing coups in history. A consumer didn't buy Marlboro because he wanted to be a cowboy, but because he desired a cowboy's traits. Look at those traits. Independence, defiance, adventure, and romance. What are the traits of your brand? Why would people buy into it? Write down 3 traits you want your brand to inspire. Right? Write down 3 traits you want your brand to inspire. If nothing else, aren't we trying to inspire people to be independent, to be wealthy through their investments in real estate, to have passive income? If you don't have that, by the way, let's get that, right? It was fun for me just a year ago. I met Ryan for the first time, and before this event, I don't know how long ago was it, about 6 months ago, I invested in a property in his market. Why? Because it cash flows. Washington, D.C., right, Cope? We don't cash flow, right? It doesn't happen. It's an appreciation play. That's what we tell everybody, right? It's an appreciation play. Great. When's the next correction? Now. Okay? All right. Numbers. Take a look at this. Being consumer focused. What does he say? Who's number 1? When you see it, it's not a trick. Shout it out. Who's number 1? Yeah. This is ridiculous. Remember the meter? Y'all are like negative meter. Who's number 1? You are. Okay? And until the consumer feels that, you're wasting all your time. You're wasting your time. All right. Nike Just Do It campaign. Create a mantra associated with your brand. If I said to you, dilly dilly, what would it inspire? Bud Light. Maybe even drinking. Maybe you think of football. It doesn't matter. What does your brand inspire? Hopefully it doesn't inspire drinking, by the way. Okay? Some do. What is this a photo of? What location? Anybody know? A coffee shop. Which is the most famous one? Having a coffee at a Starbucks. Here's the thing. Do you have a true sensory connection? Have you ever gone into like a really cool real estate office and been wowed? You're like, wow, what are they doing here? Like, you just want to be a part of it, right? My office is not like that, so I'm going to move on. Okay? We're like, how cheap can we get, right? Number 14. Take a look at this. If the consumer is truly number 1, write down the touch points. If we're talking about making a unique experience by which they'll say, I would never do business with another brand or another company because of this, let's just shout it out. Let's do this exercise together. Tell me the different touch points within a real estate transaction where you can be different than everyone else. Just shout it out. Say it again. Mutual acceptance. Oh, okay, so contract ratified. Okay, what else? Communication, over-the-top communication, but what are those touch points of communication that have to happen where you can distinguish yourself from everybody else? Closing, yeah, at closing. It's funny to me, I've seen some agents go, oh, and it's kind of in an uppity way. Oh, I don't go to closing. I don't need to be there. I've already done that business. Yeah, and you know what you're doing? You're missing a huge touch point by which what? You can separate yourself from every other brand, right? I know people that make it a huge celebration during the home inspection, right? What are the different, here's the way to think about touch points, because I want to help you with this, and then we're going to move on because we're already behind, okay? So when you think about this, ask even your ambassadors, like your real strong clients will tell you anything. I'll say, in the process of buying or selling your home with us, when were you nervous? When were you frustrated? And when were you most excited? Nervous, frustrated, excited. I'd encourage you to write those 3 terms down so that what? You can go back with your team and say, okay, when is that in the transaction? Oh, that's right, when we first meet, right? It doesn't matter when it is, but you need to then figure out, okay, how do I make that touch point special by which they'll never forget working with your brand? Attracting everyone, the hyper-focus on your niche. Some of you, I am 41, I'm older than most of you here, right? As a matter of fact, when I said, I'm going to speak at this 30 under 30 thing, like some of my close friends were like, yeah, no, seriously, where are you going? Right? So if you're hyper-focused on a niche, is it niche or niche? What do you got? Okay, so we're not confirmed on that. So for your niche, think about this. What existed before the iPod? What existed? Oh, wow. Okay, so she went old school. She's like, he'll probably know about the Sony Walkman. Okay, but MP3 players. What exists? What kind of MP3 players? Anybody know? It was one of the top 5 brands. Microsoft was in the game before. Zoom was in the game before. And why did they crush everybody else? Would you agree that this market has been taken over by Apple? Well, why did they take it over? What did they do different? What was the experience that they were creating, right? For attracting everyone. Take a look at this one. I love these commercials. Don't have time to play one. Do you guys ever see these commercials? I'm a PC. I'm a Mac. Could they make PC look any worse, right? Like, I felt bad for the guy. What's that? Yeah. I switched to a Mac recently, so you don't have to point out that. Positive peer pressure and the coolness factor. Do you agree that you get referrals because people are like, oh my gosh, you have to use so-and-so because it's amazing. They're really cool. It's fun to have an experience with them.